Hi Jose Luis. How's everything going? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yes, very nice to see you again. We have quite a lot going on at the moment. I'm up to my eyes in paperwork. I have a lot of projects on the go, which is good news. In fact, I've spent the morning going through my papers. I've thrown a lot out.
How are your kids? If I remember rightly, your daughter has just started secondary school.
Yes, she loves it. My boy is quite excited as well. In fact, before I dropped them off at school, we went to El Venero for breakfast. To celebrate. He loves eating there. Particularly the tostadas with butter. El Venero is very well known in Badajoz. It's quite famous. I can highly recommend it. It's just at the end of the new bridge, you know.
Speaking of Portugal, people say that the vegetables and dairy products there are better quality than in Spain. Why is that?
They have more water and better soil, plus they eat lots of vegetables. So, claro. When I first started at Citex, it used to be the main road to Portugal, but not anymore. So, as I was saying before, I've got quite a lot on my plate at the moment. My problem is I don't know how to say no. We go from one extreme to the other here. One minute I'm really busy, the next I have nothing to do.
Anyway, take a deep breath and relax.
I'm very lucky. My boss is great. We get on really well. Sometimes I worry that she's too nice for this business. By the way, have you heard? My new assistant has resigned after only a day and a half. Apparently she's found another job. She's found another job in Merida, closer to home. She's starting in a winery store, or emporium you could call it. Basically they only sell wine. She's been taken on as their resident expert, a sommelier. She's in charge of organizing wine tastings, etc. I'm not sure she's making the right decision though. I'm afraid she's going to be disappointed. I think she had a much better opportunity here in the Autry. I'm afraid she's going to end up being a glorified waitress. Anyway, good luck to her. I hope it turns out well. She's relatively young. She doesn't have any kids or responsibilities.
Could you explain what the Autry is exactly?
Of course, it's an acronym for the Technological Transfer Center. As you know, our main objective here is to link business with R&D, and vice versa. It's our job to understand the necessities of the agronomic and food industry, and also that of the needs of the general public. Our job then, is to promote the aims of R&D in society. We have developed 4 patents so far here, and we're aiming to develop more. As you know, I have an extensive background in olives and olive growing. I have done several in-depth studies and published several theses on the cultivation and treatment of olives. I collected lots of data and statistics defining the different varieties and their qualities, size, weight, etc. It's hard to believe that this information didn't exist before. I have essentially compiled an extensive database. This has had quite a significant social impact. On the same subject, one of our team is currently developing a biogas system, using olive waste, alpchin and alpioruo, as the active ingredient. That's quite an interesting project which kills 2 birds with 1 stone. I don't know if you were aware, but olive waste is quite toxic, and difficult to dispose of. This is a private investigation which does present certain issues, and possible conflicts of interest. However, it is interesting to us as this research could have wide-reaching implications, particularly in the local area. Olive trees account for the majority of land area in Extremadura. That's 250,000 hectares, and 55,000 trees. In fact, there's only one village in Extremadura that doesn't have any. Almost 1 in 10 people in Extremadura has an olive tree of some description on their land. But the yield of the trees is very low. The current system is not very efficient. It's an underexploited resource which needs to be made more efficient. However, The headlines in the paper are that we can't make a living from olive production. Really, it all comes down to water. It costs money to irrigate, or to water the land. In fact, my father worked for the government, instructing or helping farmers on how to irrigate the land most effectively. Several reservoirs were built during the Franco era. The area is quite hilly and slopes from east to west. Several channels were subsequently built to supply water to the west. These civil works were massively important to the success and survival of the area economically. These kinds of initiatives are what we need to promote. To have more communication between the environment, farmers, and big industry. As you may recall, I was at the Tomato World Conference during the summer, and I'm heading off to Copenhagen on Monday.
What are your expectations of the conference?
Well, it's the last meeting of this current initiative, and mainly, we're going to finish up the project and say farewell to each other. To be honest, I feel the aims of the project haven't been defined very well. They were not very clearly defined. Nevertheless, I've taken part in the project, so I'm quite interested in the results. I think the conclusions that can be drawn from this study, or initiative, are that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and the main barrier is primarily communication. It has been a great experience, and I have met a lot of very interesting people. At the very least, it has increased communication among us in the scientific community. I look forward to being in contact with several people in the future. For example, I was thinking of inviting our Portuguese colleague, João. He works for the World Health Organization. He's the European Director of Child Nutrition and Obesity in Europe. There is a lot of scope for collaboration. Anyway, it's been a pleasure meeting you, and I hope to hear from you in the future.
Likewise, I look forward to it. Let's keep in contact.